I'm on a trail with my dog. Um, and this is that's Little Park Road down there. I'm on a trail that basically I wanted to get out. Toby, come here. Sorry, he's whining. But this is my way that I went to faith, and I hopefully won't be too long-winded. But I grew up in the Presbyterian Church that was run by the Roman Catholic Church, is where they get their stuff from. And was baptized when I was a baby, and they did the whole commitment thing because that's what they were told to do. Grew up doing Easter and Christmas and all that, not knowing any better. And basically just doing communion. Didn't really, I don't know. My dad left when I was young. I was bullied heavily when I was in school. And so it was not an easy life. I was picked on for my weight. I was picked on for my outfits. And I was pretty much a moving target for anyone. Then when I was 11, I started working out, and that's when people started to respect me a little bit more. What? Stop! Sorry. But yeah, he was whining. Then I went through, what is that called? It starts with a C, and I can't remember the name. But the middle school thing where basically you do a commitment kind of thing. And you find out about communion and all that good stuff. And we studied verses and all that, and I don't know, I was reading the Bible more and off time. I don't really remember that a whole lot. In high school, I've had different leaders. I was on course for a little while, and just, I don't know, it didn't really sink in about God, but he's always been leading me and guiding me. I never got into the bad groups, if you want to call them that, and but I went to a I guess vacation Bible school kind of thing for a week in Montreat. I can't remember if it was junior, senior, or whatever, but we went up there, and my faith grew there. We did worship services and kind of did our own thing, and it was fun, and I felt more movement than I ever have in my life. And we talked about God and our commitment to Him, and really got into the Word. It was definitely different, and that helped a lot. And for a little while, I was studying the Bible, and then it wasn't jumping off the page like it is now. Like, it was just like, okay, I'm reading these verses because I just wanted to learn. And it felt like there was a block. But then I went off to college and tried to join different groups. And one of them was the Presbyterian group that was good. And so I joined them, and also just did different events and that type of thing, and went to the Wesley group and Campus Crusade for Christ and that type of thing. Hey, morning. And Wesley, both of those kind of helped, but I was still partying and drinking and all that good stuff. Went to bars and thought that that's what you were supposed to do. And I was living a double life because I'd go do school and that type of thing, and come home and get on dating apps and whatever. Backtracking a little bit, at about 15 or 16, I discovered nudie magazines and getting off. And that misled me. And it's because of the filth that I was watching. I didn't know any better. I watched movies and did all the normal stuff that any human does, claiming that we were doing stuff differently, but we weren't. and I also joined the Wesley group that was very good. We went to things on Sunday. Did we do any overnight stuff? We also helped a men's like get back on their feet kind of place, and helped them and worshiped with them and saw what true commitment was. My faith did grow there, and I was wanting. I was still living. I was still doing things, and I would get away every weekend and go have fun in the woods and kind of do my own thing, and that's kind of where where I'd always spend my free time. Um, but I was, I don't know, 1 foot in Christianity and 1 foot in the well, majorly 1 foot in the world. I guess doing the things like dating and blogging and whatever that I thought that I could get a wife by that way, and that didn't happen. But then I hit a surgery in 2003. Really fell off. The thing is the more sin you're involved in, the more you want to do it, and the more things. So the same thing doesn't set you off as much as they used to. So I was delving into more wicked stuff, like trans stuff, and yes, I delved into it. I didn't ever fully commit to, I never met them, and, well, did I? Yeah, I did actually meet a couple in person. There were 2 of them. But yeah, during most of my adulthood, it's been a lot of trying to figure out who I am and what I am. I moved a whole hell of a lot. Moved into Georgia. Moved to other places, and yeah, I may have to stop because of people. But yeah, I was not living the right life, and I kept going from job to job to job. Got my master's in 2009. Stop, Toby. And then I went to West Virginia, and I was tired of the sinning life, and there was many times in my life, because of how bad it got with sin and with just how the world just beat the living crap out of me, that I tried to commit suicide with a knife to my throat many times. That never happened. That never came to complete fruition. But most of my life, it's just been trying to figure out who I was and what I was about. West Virginia, I found a guy by the name of Kerry Shook who I liked what he was saying, and I thought that was a good Christian person, and then he had Nick Vujicic, who was in Australia. He has no arms or legs, and basically, so I was listening to him, and he had a lot of good things to say, and it made me want to more fully commit. And I was watching a lot more TV on sermons and that type of thing, and trying to get more involved. I ordered a lot of Kerry Shook's videos and books, and realizing that I needed to make this more my own. I needed to make it to where it was mine, and I was fed up with the way I was living. It started back in Auburn. I gave up the sexual side for 8 months, and then I went right back to it, and I hated myself. And there was a period off and on when I was living in the mountains of Colorado, in different places where I was breaking free of it and trying to live differently. And I was reading the Bible more, I think, and just trying to figure out who I was. And so just bumping around from place to place, and just nothing really was, I don't know, fulfilling in my life. I'd have jobs that were outdoor related, but I was never truly happy. Then when I did my master's program, that was probably the most with it that I felt, because I was helping inner city high schoolers get an education and also get in more into the outdoors. And we did 5 field trips, and and I made outlines that were horrible at the time, and I know it now. But yeah, I don't know why I made that garbage. But I tried to make some stuff that they could go over. And I guess in my mind, I thought that that was good. Now looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? Um, sorry, my dog is whimpering. Um, but so I came, I don't know, in West Virginia. I was living out in the middle of nowhere, and I was really trying to get more involved in church. Like I would drive. I was living in the middle of nowhere, so I had to drive 35, 45 minutes to get back to the church, and we made backpacks for the kids weekly, and we just did different things. And So I did that, and I was trying to be a part of the group. And that was part of me wishes that I wish I would have stayed there, because I was making strides. I was making things happening, and there was a girl that I wish I would have stayed with, but I stupidly did some things that I was not proud of and pushed it way, way, way too much. Because I was fed up with being single, and she was the first person that I truly cared about. But whatever. Um, but yeah, women are not gonna make you happy. They'll. What I've noticed is women have come and gone, and it's just a constant fight. Especially if you don't see things eye to eye and don't have the same hobbies and stuff that you want to do. If you don't have the same hobbies, forget about it. um, but in So that was in 2009. But right after that was West Virginia, so I'm not backtracking too much. West Virginia was for 2.5 years, and I just, I don't know, I had a lot of pride growing up. I was like, oh, well, I'm better than you. And I mean, when I was growing up, I went to camps, and I went and like when I wasn't around school and getting bullied heavily, we would go on family trips during Christmas break and also during the summer, which was great, and it kind of counterbalanced all the bad things that were going on. Um, um, but yes, it was. I don't know. It's in my life. I've noticed that it's been a counter, and I've noticed that what I would do with a lot of this, it wasn't the pictures. It was mainly like the stories that I was reading, because what I would do is I would pretend that was me in the stories and coming to a climax, if you will, and that was my way of handling life. That was my outlet, and I got away from a lot of things, and it gave me an endorphin high kind of thing, and so that's how I dealt with life. But West Virginia was one of those times when I was delving more into the Word and trying to figure out, okay, how do I read this and how do I get more out of it? And God's been leading me. And then I stupidly left and went to another job in West Virginia, where I thought that I would, where I was needed and wanted, and the guy threw me out within 8 months, 8 or 9 months. Don't understand to this day what the hell I did wrong. But then I went to Minnesota stupidly because I thought I had a job. I was like, oh, well, I'll get this one, sure thing. And was there for way too long, spending money that I didn't have. But God was showing me, even though I was sinning, He was still there. God was showing me that, yes, you've messed up, but I'm still here for you, because I was basically living in my car and in motel rooms. I would move from motel to motel to motel. Was there ever a point that I was living in my car? I mean, nothing came out of my car. So yes, for all circumstances, I was living in my car. That was miserable. That was a very low point, and I wanted to change, and I was seeking God with everything I had in me at that point. And West Virginia was the same way. I was seeking God, but I was not knocked completely on my butt until when I was in Minnesota. I was like, okay, something's got to change. Um, and and I didn't know what the root cause of all this was for quite a while, but it wasn't until later that I figured out that it was a lot of the inputs that I was allowing into my life. So so in Minnesota, I was down to nothing and nowhere to go. My dad was living up there with my stepmom that hated me. Well, I don't know. It wasn't hate. It was more of a like everywhere I'd go, she would forcefully remove me by doing certain things in the room in order to get me to move. And that happened for many, many, many years. I had a dog at the time. I got a dog in 2003, and it shaped a lot of my jobs. I never went into the backcountry and did the normal wildlife thing that a wildlife biologist does because of it. So that hurt a lot because, I mean, if I wouldn't have had him, it would have been a different story. I would not have gone the route that I did, and I think God had a reason. But he was a great dog, and we went hiking and all that all the time. I mean, we go and have a lot of great adventures. You gotta give me time, Toby. This is Tobias. And then let's see. So West Virginia, then I went to Minnesota, and then I was in Florida for a little while, and then I went to Houston, Texas, and Houston was where I grew in faith at that time. Is there were 2 floods that hit, and a group called Samaritan's Purse came in, and I really enjoyed ripping out pieces of whatever and getting people back on their feet and talking about God. That was amazing. That was a time when hold on, bud, okay? You just gotta give me some more time. But it was stop. For 2 months, I was working every weekend, doing stuff, ripping out walls and everything else, trying to get the flood damage out. And that was really enjoyable. I mean, I got flooded out of my own apartment, but I enjoyed what it was doing, and I enjoyed being the hands and feet of God. And I was going to Kerry Shook's church, who I mentioned earlier. His church is in Houston, and that was a huge church. And I realized that God called me to do an immersion baptism, which I did, because baptism, it says in the scriptures to do immersion into water, and so I did that. And I was trying to be right, and I was when in Houston, I was watching a lot more sermons and that type of thing, and trying to keep away from the other stuff. But I was learning. I was really learning and growing, and having faith in that. And then I got the idea. It's like, hey, let's do outdoor ministry. So I looked into groups because I really loved outdoors and saw the connection that, like, when you're in this type of area where God has created all of this. I mean, that was an old volcano, so that's Grand Mesa, and there's actually volcanic rock all on the sides of it. That's why it's a flat top mesa. But this world is very different than what we're taught. And so I wanted to teach others through the outdoors and lead them on hiking and biking and all these other things. So I was like, hey, that's awesome. And I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. So I tried to do that route, went to Montreat in North Carolina, left my job, and I was like, oh, I'll do this. And so I was accepted, and everything was in place, and I was going to do outdoor ministry and learn about it and become a pastor, and everything fell apart as soon as I got there. The family that I was living with kicked me out because they were having issues internally, and so they were like, bye. Couldn't find a job, couldn't find a place that was reasonable anywhere near. No one wanted to take me in, so I had to leave. And And then that was actually a good thing because it allowed me to be with my grandmother who was dying and had dementia and dying of like she had a massive stroke and couldn't feed herself anymore. So for about 3.5 months, we fed her. And I enjoyed being around seniors and just talking to them, and stupidly didn't go back. I don't know why. But that was a hard time because I was going and on my off times I had 4 jobs at that point. I was a doggy daycare. That was one of my worst jobs, and I was also in other things as well. I tried to do my own outdoor ministry in Minnesota. I got the idea. It's like, hey, I should do outdoor ministry and have a mobile trailer, and I can offer people things in parks and that type of thing. Tried to get it off the ground. It never happened. I put together business plans and all this other stuff, trying to get something going. That never happened. But I tried for like 6 or 7 months, and I tried talking to parks. I tried talking. It's like, hey, I would like to come in and do this, and none of them were willing to work with me. But I was growing in faith, and delving into the outdoor ministry side. I looked into different books and different things by different people, and then that just didn't work. So I went from, let's see, Florida. Oh, and then I went to Idaho. Idaho was another place where I was growing in faith. I bumped into a video. I think it was like Criswell or Creswell. I can't remember his name, but there was a video saying that, and I think even before that time, I was watching videos that were like, oh well, what you're believing is not quite right, and you should be really doing things differently and praying. I didn't know how to pray all the time. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how to be different. But he told of a person that went to hell. That was a Christian. That's all. The Christian pastors were going to hell. I was like, okay, why is that? Why would God do that? So there's a lot of soul searching. I was like, I don't want to go to hell. So that was my thing, and I was finding out it's like we were doing things wrong, and that's when I started noticing that things that like Christmas and and Halloween, all these other things were actually pagan. It's like, and I looked up the historical stuff, and that's when I started really researching and found out that these were all based on like pagan rituals. Like Halloween is a Celtic Druid celebration celebrating the dead, and it's like, what? So basically, you're having demons and everything else entering you. And I found out that Christmas, I don't know if I found out back then, but it's called Saturnalia, and that's not when Jesus was born. I think I looked into that too, and figured out when Jesus was born, and they're claiming that Jesus, well, according to the historical accounts, it could be either in like August, September time, or in or spring, like March, April kind of thing, and being a new year. And so, but yeah, I was reading the Bible more, and I was like, okay, I don't want to go to hell, and what do I have to do to really do this? And we did an outdoor ministry vacation Bible school, and I was really involved with that, and we did sermons and that type of thing, and we had different pieces, and I enjoyed doing that. And I also had a group that we did Bible studies, and I was the leader. And what was interesting is I was the leader, and they started getting, and I think it was demons going after me, but they were coming after me, going, oh well, you should do it this way, or this is how I do things, and you should do it this certain way. And then when I stopped, they're like, oh well, we'll continue. And as soon as I stopped leading the group, it completely disbanded. It was just interesting. From Idaho, I was trying to do outdoor ministry and do like figure out a way of doing like Christian camp and that type of thing. So I found a camping in outside of Dallas, and I was like, hey, this is a perfect time. I can, and I was lied to with a job and went there trying to. They're like, oh yeah, you can do your different things and whatever, and when I got there, it was a complete another. I brought it up many times. It's like, hey, can I go through this process or that process? And I was blocked at every corner. And then I got fed up with them, with all their BS, and I walked out. I was like, I'm done. Um, and so I came back out to Colorado and brought my dad with me. My dad had prostate cancer in Dallas. And I left before he did in order to come back to Grand Junction, Colorado, which is where we are now. And so in 2020, I came back out and was at a resort that is down that way. So yeah, I think you can see but yeah, it's Gateway Resort, which is south and actually further over here. But I was delving into the word, but I was not really. I mean, I was still doing things wrong. God saved me from. There was some stupid things that I did because I thought that I wanted a certain relationship, and that didn't work out, and they were threatening me, and thankfully God made it go away. And let's see. But when I was in Grand Junction, I mean, churches didn't. I saw through the charade of church at that point. I in Dallas. Yeah. This is important. In Dallas, I got rid of my gaming systems. I knew that it was wrong, so I got rid of all my gaming systems. I wanted nothing to do with pagan celebrations. I did fly home, and I was like, I don't want to celebrate Christmas. I want to do this differently. And the problem was my relatives don't see eye to eye with what I believe, and so they kept doing the same old stuff, and I was like, I'm not having this. I participated, but I didn't realize how bad that was at the time. And then I came back out, and I was kind of just doing my own thing, and I was really looking at like ancient during all of this, like from Minnesota to now, I mean, I was looking at how the Hebrews did it, how they lived, how the ancient Israelites lived, and how they were able to do stuff, and and found out that it was way different than I was taught. And So, I mean, for the whole time, I mean, I was trying to figure out ways of doing an outdoor ministry. I tried to do it in Houston. That didn't work. I mean, I did talk to Girl Scouts and that type of thing, and it almost worked, and then it didn't. And then I left and went to the outdoor ministry. And then in Dallas, we were part of groups, but I was being basically forced into doing programming, and I was like, and not allowed to speak up, and like I was double the age, well, not double, I was 10 to 15 years older than the person that was over me, and I knew more than he did, and for whatever reason they decided to put me under him and not have me have any type of say, and I kept trying to force some stuff to happen that never did. And I got fed up with it and walked out. Then I came back to here, and I grew. I mean, I looked into the Bible. Oh, and I mean, 2020 is when COVID hit, and that's when things shut down. And that's when I got the idea of doing videos like I am now. And I did videos of different ministry topics and different things. I talked about like water quality and adaptations and different things, and got really serious about what I was doing. And so I went down that route and started doing blogging. COVID hit, I lost my job, and did videos for a little while, and then I found a job in Florida because I was trying to do the outdoor thing. I was talking to scouts in different groups. I was talking to different groups and trying to figure out a way of working with them. It's like, hey, I really want to do this, and I feel I would like to take groups out lead them in places like this, go hiking, go biking, and just get them out and to see God through the outdoors. And in August of, sorry, this is long-winded. August of 2020, I came across a sermon, not a sermon, it was a prophetic warning saying that this is the end and that this would happen. And this whole time I've been trying to figure out how to stop myself from getting off. There were I would go 9 or 10 months with not doing one thing, and then something would trigger it, and I would go right back. And then August 2020 happened, and basically it was like, okay, if you don't stop right now, you will be left behind. Because then I thought that the rapture was going to happen at any point. At that point, I thought that the rapture was going to happen, and so I got dead serious, and I cut out everything. I at that point, I cut out TV, I cut out movies and music, and well, not music at that point, and got serious. I was like, okay, well, I've got to change, and so I stopped cold turkey and I've not once gone back. And so so I got really serious, and that's when I really delved into the Bible. I read through a lot of the Old Testament. I don't know when I started reading the Apocrypha, but I was reading it off and on. But that's when God started giving me dreams. Well, no, it's not. There was a dream that's when the dreams really started happening. But in 2013, when I was in Huntington, there was a rapture dream where I was in a car and there were 3 people, 1 in the front and 2 in the back, and I saw them basically turn white and fly off, kind of thing. And my vision turned white. So that was my first dream, and I don't know if there was another one between that and the other ones. There may have been, because I've had a lot recently, so I don't know about then. So I got dead serious, and I turned off the TV because I knew how bad it was. It was setting me off and causing me to react differently than I know I should be, and so I completely turned it off. I was like, I'm done. I got dead serious and no longer had movies or anything like that. I started using my time differently. I was playing games at that point, and I went to Florida for another job because I lost my job and left my dad here. And in Florida, I started blogging and doing writings, and finding out it came very natural. So I have a blog on WordPress and Facebook, and found out that it came very natural. I'd talk about different topics. What I do is I would research the topic a little bit by looking up scriptures, write down the scriptures, and then look through the scriptures and then start writing and just referring back to those scriptures, and found out that I could write like 2 and 3 pages worth of stuff within moments. It didn't take much. So I knew that God wanted to use me that way. So that's what. But yes, the worldly way and God's way are completely different. If you think that everyone's going to heaven, you're full of crap. But then I came back to Colorado 2023 for a job up there. There's Vega Lake on this side, and basically it cut me off of everything. But before that, all along this whole time, I've been getting dreams and visions, and seeing how God uses people and how He really moves and how He really does things. God wants you to cut out gaming. He wants you to cut out. He gave me a warning dream saying you need to cut out gaming, because it's basically just making your mind think, oh well, it's good to shoot every animal or critter or whatever, and it's just not good. And you're allowing things into your mind, and movies and music and all that are actually making your mind think different things. The lyrics, if you really listen to lyrics, you're like, what did they say? It's pretty foul. Um, so, but I've been all along this time in Grand Junction and in Idaho, I was confronted by Mormonism. They believe that God has a physical form, and that he mated with a female, or like that there is a woman in heaven that they mate with, which is complete hogwash. The soul is directly out of him, and he never did once mate. They're claiming that he mated and had Lucifer and Jesus, and that's complete hogwash. God created Lucifer, and it was not a brother; it was an angel. Lucifer was a light bearer, called the light bearer, and he was a demon. Well, not demon. Sorry, he was an angel that had not converted to demon, but he's always been very evil, and so he was kicked out of heaven. And but according to Mormonism, it says that Jesus and Lucifer were brothers, which is complete hogwash. It claims that Jesus came to this world and he didn't live before that because Joseph and Mary, or someone in Mary, had sex, which is not true. The Holy Spirit indwelt within Mary in order to produce Jesus. It was an immaculate conception. In other words, it happened. And this has been proven. If you look at Ron Wyatt, and he did a blood analysis of the blood he found under the cross, and it only had it was part of the blood, so it only had one from the side of the female. So we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus was not sexually done. Also, salvation is not through works. If you think you're going to work your way to heaven and be good enough for God, you're full of crap. If you've thought it, you've done it. If you have done one thing out of the 10 Commandments, or broken the law in any way, shape, or form, which we all have on a daily basis, you're going to go the wrong way. So that's false. And it also says that, when we get to heaven, that we'll all have our own earth, and we'll be able to rule just like Jesus and be on the same level as Jesus and God, which is complete hogwash, because God's up here, Jesus is here, and we are here. He is our Father, because it says the only way to the Father is through the Son, which is Yeshua, or Jesus. So that's complete hogwash about the Mormons. Do I think they're incredible people? Yes. Do I think that? But Joseph Smith was a false prophet from the very beginning. He claims that that all of the creeds and everything before his time was completely bullshit, which is not true. There are what has happened is you have really serious people that knew the Bible and wanted everything to follow the Bible. Then you had others that were actually pushed by the demons and pushed by different ways of thinking. And sorry, I'm getting up off the ground. But they were differently thinking, and yeah. So I mean, it's just like what was his name? Martin. He was one of them. I mean, Wesley. There's a recent guy that I can't remember his name. But there's been some really, good preachers. But the thing is, just like it says in the Bible, there were tares among the wheat, and God can't pull the wicked out of the ground, because he would pull the Christians at the same time or get rid of them. And so he doesn't want that. So the devil has placed and put people into certain situations, and the fallen angels may be in human form now, and you have the AI and all that good stuff. So that is happening. But sorry, I'm trying to watch where I'm going now. But there, most of the people will not make it into heaven because it keeps saying remnant, and it's because we live in a time where we've come up with every single thing to distract us and everything to get us off base. We've come up with things like Mormonism, and I don't know if I want to say this, the M word, that they're believing a certain prophet with a M in his name. And he was a false prophet. He lived 500 years after Yeshua and claimed very different things than what the Christianity teaches. Christianity doesn't have it. The modern version of Christianity says, oh, well, you should worship these pagan festivals like Ishtar. And also in the Bible it says, do not eat anything sacrificed to demons. If you eat candy and with little cute caricatures of Christmas trees and all this other stuff, then you're not, then you're basically being demon possessed. And also, there's a fight over the real name of Jesus. His Hebrew name is Yeshua or Yeshua or Yeshua HaMashiach. And the Ruach HaKodesh is the is the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So obviously, but I've been studying the scriptures and trying to figure out what is and isn't appropriate. Sex before marriage is absolutely not allowed. If you're living with someone and having sex with them, that's not allowed. I take things very seriously now. It is not by grace you're saved. That's hogwash. No one is saved through grace. You have grace and mercy when you mess up. Like if you are trying to live the right way and you mess up, that's when grace and mercy come into light. There's new things coming out like about Elohim being multiple gods that came down and made this area, which is, I don't know, not true. Could God have had angels help him? Yes. But we're saved through faith through Yeshua, and there ain't no other way to do it. So in all of this that you see, if you look out, I mean, what does that look like to you? Does that look flat to you? That's because it is. And that big ball right there, that's actually inside the dome. And if you ever watch the real unedited version of when rockets go up, notice how when rockets go up, they go like this and then they curve. And they're like, oh, well, we got to have our trajectory. If you're going to go to someplace, wouldn't you go straight up and keep going? But if you watch SpaceX's rockets, they'll go way up there and then they'll bounce off of off of the dome. And because Antarctica is a big ice wall, so yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where to go. Tabby. But yes. So thank you for joining me. But I have dreams and visions and trying to do the right thing. Trying to be the man of God that he called me to be, and so I'm calling things out. But that's my story. There's obviously more to it, but it would just make for long and boring. But yes, I've been bullied. I've been ridiculed, put down. And if you're not attacked by the demons in many ways, and then you're probably not doing things right. But you need to cut out gaming, you need to cut out music and videos and all this other stuff and concentrate on God, because he's about to come back. Thank you for joining me. Bye.